Good evening again, if you're calling in from EMEA at least, which this is the EMEA meetup, so I'm going to go with evening. Welcome, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to get started with just some quick introductions and sort of the quick how do we do things around here and quick reminders and all that fun stuff. Just while people start coming in. Right, so just really quickly, I'm Jessica Brown. I'll be hosting today. I'm an engineering manager here at Grafana Labs. I've been here for about 2 years or so. We do have a few things that we go through, which is like, we really would like to hear your feedback about these meetups. Like, what do you think we could be doing differently, better, more of, less of, whatever. There is a survey link, which I think we'll be sharing.
Jessica, we can't see your screen right now. Sorry to interrupt.
You can't see my screen?
No.
Oh boy, hold on. I don't know what's going on here. Let me try again. Thank you for letting me know. I guess with the recording, it did that. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, brilliant. Yep. Right, so where was I? Feedback, please. We love feedback. Everybody loves feedback, or should love feedback anyway. Bonus, we'll also send you a Grafana shirt if you give us some feedback. We are still working on our EMEA swag shop. It is coming, I promise. I've been promised this. Everybody's promising this. It should be soon. But also as a reminder, the code of conduct is also in effect. So we will be enforcing this. So you can comment and chat in, and whatnot during the presentations, but do try to keep it civil, but also if another participant is making you feel uncomfortable, please report it to the host. It will take care of it. The presentations are being recorded, as you can see, and have been warned, but the discussions afterwards will not be. So this is going to be posted to our YouTube channel later. So this is going to click next. Right. So our what's new section. Right. Grafana Mimir is here. I've actually pronounced that okay. Great. I'm sure some of you all have been hearing about this over the last, I think it was announced last week. There's lots to go over in that. I do not have enough time to do this. But there is a webinar at the end of this month where they will go and dive into it. So yes, be sure to register for that. We also have a new Grafana podcast called Grafana's Big Tent. Every 2 weeks. I'm not going to read the slide, but I hear it's really great. Matt Ryer, who's going to be speaking soon, is also one of the hosts. So feel free to go and download it on, like and subscribe. Is that what all the influencers are saying these days? But yeah, can find where all the podcasts that you get are probably, I imagine. Also, you might have heard there is a Series D funding, so that we just announced, I think, was it today, yesterday? I'm not sure, days are confusing to me now. Which means, I guess, from an engineering manager point of view, means that we'll be hiring a lot more in the future. So feel free to reach out. So, right, but now to the juice of our show. We have some really lovely speakers lined up. And without further ado, Marcus Olsson, are you ready?
I am, thank you very much.
Shall I give over the screen sharing capabilities?
You can just switch one screen ahead.
One slide, okay.
One slide, just one slide. No,
I can do that.
Okay. Okay, I guess the next one.
Oh, okay, wait. Sorry, I forgot about this slide. But I guess that's a good thing, right? So before we begin though, there will be Zoom chat questions. If you have a question, please ask it in Zoom chat. Check your volume, because if you can't hear us, it's probably on your machine, because I can hear, we did a sound check earlier. So no spam, please. It's nice to eat, but not, not read. And of course, don't forget to have fun, and feel free to introduce yourself in chat and get chatting. So yeah, right. Is this the slide you're wanting?
There we go. Thank you.
Nice.
Yes, well done. Hey everyone, I'm Marcus. I work here in the plugin platform team at Grafana Labs. So I mostly help people with building plugins for Grafana. Today, however, I will be focusing more on using plugins. And really, this is the presentation that I wish that I had when I started out with Grafana. So I hope that you will enjoy it. I will say, though, if you are interested in plugins, especially if you're interested in creating them for yourself, follow me on Twitter. I will tweet resources on plugin development and really anything about plugins. So if that's interesting to you, let's talk. So, you know, when you started using Grafana, you probably had a good idea of what you wanted to monitor. And I know I had. The first team I was in, I started using Grafana to monitor a few web services that were using Prometheus. So I already knew what my data was and where it was. And I knew that Grafana supported it. And, you know, after a while, my team realized that, hey, we could also visualize data from Postgres and a lot of other cool data sources, which Grafana also supported, which was awesome. And so we started consolidating more and more of our data, and we got a better picture of what we're doing. And, you know, eventually, though, there might come a day where you run into the situation where, gasp, Grafana does not support the database that you're using at your company. Fear no more, because we've got you covered. The stuff that you're seeing inside Grafana, that's just the beginning. That's only the tip of the iceberg, if you will. So Grafana actually supports much more than what you see when you install Grafana, what you get in the box, so to say. So in fact, you can extend Grafana to support, I would argue, any data source out there through plugins. So a plugin in the Grafana sense of the word is a third-party application or third-party code that can hook into Grafana itself. So you technically, you're placing it inside a folder that Grafana reads when it boots up and then loads all those plugins. So it's not actually part of Grafana itself, but it loads it when Grafana starts. So that means that you can connect to data sources that Grafana does not support, or it can mean that you add new visualizations that are not in the package, so to say. So I'm going to share my screen just to give you a feeling of how that could look like. So let's first look at where do you find plugins. And if you go to grafana.com/plugins, you will end up in this page. This is kind of the entry point for plugins. And if you want to see, for example, what kind of data sources the community has built, then you can go there and you can kind of browse through what's available. And as you can see, there's quite a lot out there. And I hope that you can find the data source that you're using. So the next step is, how do you actually install it? Well, depends on if you're running Grafana in the cloud, using Grafana Cloud, or if you're using, if you're hosting it yourself or running it yourself on premise. So if you are a Grafana Cloud customer or have an account, then you can simply go to a plugin here on the marketplace. You can click install, and then you can select the instance that you want to install the plugin to. You click install, and after a few minutes, it will actually have provisioned it to your instance, and you can start using it immediately. So that's pretty sweet. You can actually see the plugins that you have installed by going to configuration, plugins, and you'll see this view, which is actually, if you looked at this page a few versions ago, it will look very differently because from 8.2, I believe, we introduced a new plugin catalog, which is very much the same as you would see on the website. but it's now available inside Grafana itself, which is really cool. We can see, for example, if we wanted to install the same plugin, we see that we have it available here. It's not installed on this instance though, so we would have to go back to Grafana and you would have to install it from there. However, if you're running Grafana on-premise, then you have the added possibility of installing it from inside Grafana as well. And you need to be a server admin to do this because Grafana will actually download the plugin on the machine and unpack it. So make sure that you have permissions to do that. But so what we can do then is, let's say that I want to install the Neo4j data source by the community. Then I can click the install button here, and what that will do is actually download the plugin to my server and unpack it. And now it's there, and Grafana automatically reloaded it, so it's available right away. I can click the create a new data source, and immediately I hop into the configuration editor. So for starting Grafana 8.2, this is a lot better, a really good experience for installing plugins. Before you would have to go into the terminal and install it through a CLI, for example. So this is a much nicer experience. And what else? So yeah, you can browse plugins through this this marketplace. You can also see that it has sort of labels. Some of them are core, some of them are missing signatures, and you might be wondering what's that about. Well, so if we look at all of them, you can see that most of them have this signed label here, and this means that this plugin has been signed by the plugin author, which means that you can trust that the plugin that you're getting is the same one that the plugin author intended you to have. So no one has downloaded a code, built it, packaged it, and distributed outside of the plugin author's control. So you can know that you can safely use it. So I'm actually gonna see if we can do some demos of some cool plugins that you can install. So let's see if we can. I have here a Grafana cloud instance. I should have, actually, I could go back to that one and I can create a new dashboard. So I have two plugins that I wanted to show you today. The first one is called JSON API plugin or data source. And I really like this plugin because it opens up so many doors. So let's say that you have a endpoint somewhere that's serving JSON. So I have an example here. I hope that you can see it, where I have a URL here, grafana.com/API/plugins, that it's a publicly available endpoint that you can go to see basically a JSON payload of all the plugins that's been published to the Grafana marketplace. And so what if I actually wanted to visualize this or even monitor it inside Grafana? Well, I can do that using the JSON API plugin. So if I go to my plugins page here, you can see that I've added a data source here. And the only thing I've done is that I entered the URL to this plugin. And that's it. And when I then go and create a dashboard here, I can select it from the same menu here as all the other data sources that are built in. So from this point on, it's as if it was built in. So I'm gonna go ahead and select that data source. And as you see, the query editor changes. And what you can do here is that the payload that is returned by the endpoints, you can actually extract data from it. So specific data that you're interested in. So I'm going to use a query language called JSON path here to kind of specify what data I want to extract. So in this case, I'm going to extract items from the items array. And I could potentially put in a filter here, but in this case, I want all of them. and I'm gonna extract the name. And right now we have the time series visualization, which is not able to visualize strings. So I'm gonna switch to table, and we can immediately see that we have the data right here. And what I can do next is I can add another field, and I can extract some more data. So let's say that we have downloads, for example. So all the downloads for every plugin, and there's no database here other than the service that's behind Grafana.com. But this means that any endpoints out there you can use to extract data into Grafana. And every time you refresh the dashboard, you will automatically pull the latest information from that endpoint. And of course, you can use other visualizations like the pie chart, and that will work immediately. So as you can see, community built plugins work very much the same as core built-in plugins. So you can mix and match however you like, which is my favorite part. And the cool thing is that you can even mix and match community data sources with community panels. So let's say that we added another field here. Let's see if we added. I want to know when the plugin was last updated. So this visualization doesn't give me much anymore. But if I go to the table here, I can see that now I have this timestamp that I just pulled in. So wouldn't it be cool if I could kind of get an overview of how this looks like when the plugin was updated? Well, so I have another plugin installed from the community as well, which is the calendar plugin, which I'm sure you've all used a calendar in the past at some point, and it's exactly what you would expect. It's a calendar, but inside Grafana. So right now you see the weekly view right now, and you can kind of click the days and you can select a new time range, and that will actually update the dashboard interval. But we can also change the dashboard interval to the latest 30 days, and you get more days here. And what I can do now is that panel plugins, for example, they can give you configuration options that is not available for any other plugin, for example. So in this case, the calendar plugin lets you select the text of calendar events and when they start. So in this case, I'm using the updated at property from the JSON API plugin, which is really neat that you can combine them like this. So in this case, I'm just gonna apply it, and there I have a dashboard. And so this kind of experience is only possible with community built plugins at this point. So some community plugins actually make it into the core Grafana. Some of them actually go the other way around, where we extract plugins that have been used in the past. For example, the single stat plugin, which is now deprecated in core, but is available from the Grafana marketplace. But so you can extend the Grafana experience by using plugins like this. I know that a lot of people are using the calendar plugin for maintenance calendars, for example, and similar things, releases, deployments, stuff like that. So you can even click the calendar events here and see what's happening on that day as well. So those are two plugins that I wanted to show you. There are many more on the marketplace. And as you saw, you can now install all the plugins through the new and shiny plugin catalog. So feel free to try them out. And maybe you'll find a new favorite, who knows? So I'm gonna hand it over to Matt, who's gonna be talking about
Grafana Incident.
Wonderful. I'm gonna stop sharing and let you take the floor.
Thank you very much. Thanks for that. That was great, Marcus. I didn't realize there was that calendar visualization. It's amazing.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Very cool. Okay. Well, Hello, everyone. Are we going to do questions at the end? Is that how we do this?
Oh, good question. I'm happy to take questions now. Or you can think about it and get back at the end.
Yeah, you can use the Slack, the Zoom chat. Sorry, the Zoom chat will let you ask any questions. So if you've got any for Marcus, ask them now. And if not, I'll get ready and we'll talk about it. Grafana incident. Okay. Looks like you covered everything, Marcus. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm Matt Ryer. Hello. Thank you for coming to the meetup today. I'm very excited to show you Grafana Incident. We haven't really shown this off to many people. It's really new. And we're just embarking on the private kind of beta now, where we invite people to use it for preview. So if that's something you're interested in, I can talk a bit more about that towards the end. On the next slide, we'll see, I'll tell you the goals of this project. Essentially, this tool comes in, like we have Grafana on call, which is the kind of like, that will wake you up, that will alert you when things are going wrong. It has escalation policies in there that you can configure so it finds the right people. But sometimes there is, an incident happens and you're going to have to like, either customers are affected or revenues are affected, or you need someone's help in order to resolve it. It's not something that you can just solve on your own. And that's where Grafana Incident comes in. A lot of companies have a quite chaotic incident experience. Usually, actually, for most people, it's all sort of ad hoc, basically. So they'll just fight fires as they crop up. And that gets you so far. But ultimately, it can be quite a stressful situation. It can be quite confusing if you don't really know, if you don't have any kind of process in place. And so Grafana Incident aims to take industry best standards, best practices of incident management, and kind of encode it into a tool which then guides you through this simple process. It gives you this easy and repeatable process so you can practice with it, which is quite important. It removes toil. So we have, it will create a Zoom meeting or a Google Meet for you. It'll create a Google Doc if that's part of your process. It creates a Slack channel for you for the incident, for each incident, so that the team can collaborate and discuss it and work on it. Normally, if you're doing that manually, it's quite easy to end up by accidentally messing up the permissions or just creating it in the wrong account. Things like this happen all the time. And then that adds friction when you're really trying to put out a fire and focus on something that's going wrong. So by having the tool do all those things for you, you can sort of forget about it and just get on with fighting the real fires, putting the incident right. So it lets you also set the status of an incident, so you can communicate that. It keeps everybody informed. It allows you to assign certain roles so that there are official roles that people take when an incident happens. And that helps you figure out, who's doing what and communicate that. So you'll have somebody that is the contact point, and you'll have somebody that is actively working and investigating. That becomes quite important to share that information and also know it and agree it amongst yourselves, because the worst thing can happen is two people think the other person is going to do a certain task or a certain role, and then it never ends up getting done, because it gets missed. So we care a lot about that piece of it as well. Now, by using a tool like this, there are insights that you can gain into your incident process as well. And we passively collect information from while you're just getting on with diagnosing the incident. And I'll show a real example of that. So I think I'm ready now to do a demo, which involves sharing my screen. Okay, hopefully you can see this. This is actually a real instance of Grafana Incident running. And so you can see we've got a lot of test activity in here. I'm just going to pick one to give you an overview, and then we'll create our own incident. When you create an incident, you know, you have a title, you give it a title, that's quite important. And that's a human readable title of what's going on. It will then create the Slack channel for you. In fact, I'm just going to go ahead and do it. So I'm just going to say Meetup, Zoom audio not working. So something's gone wrong here. And I'm just describing it in a human readable way. We want to choose the severity of an incident, but maybe we don't know that up front. So we can leave that to be decided. I can choose a few other settings here. And I can also indicate that this is a drill. And so that's quite nice for practicing and also for testing so that we can create incidents and try it without polluting the real reports and things like this. So I'm going to declare this drill incident to say that the Zoom audio is not working. I'm then given this page, and this is like the empty incident page. And essentially we just have a few main areas here. There's the people section, which in the top right here. This is where the roles are, and this is the Slack channel and any other social places to meet or Google Doc there to collaborate. So everything that the people need to work together can be found there. We also add links. We can add, you know, linking relevant information turns out to be extremely useful when incidents are happening, and being able to pin them in there straight away solves a lot of pain, it turns out. We have also Task Manager down here, and we've got some tips, and then we've got a timeline that we build up here on the left. And this timeline is essentially going to either actively or passively collect basically the series of events that occurred during an incident. So that's great for when you want to put your postmortem together. You know, trying to remember what happened after the fact is very difficult. So collecting it as you go along is the way to do it. So I'm going to become the investigator. I click the card and it spins around, and then I'm able to search at the top here for myself. And there I go, I'm in there. So now I'm the investigator. You can see that event was added to the timeline with the timestamp, which is nice. And it's also reported in Slack. If I click on this and open up our Slack channel, this is the incident channel that was created for this incident. So this is also nice because we found that people essentially diagnose incidents in Slack. That's where they do it. So we don't want to fight with that behavior. We don't want to change that. If people are comfortable, you know, the important thing is you put out the fire and address the incident. Where you do that is up to you. So you can see here, I have this test one in here, and I volunteered here to be the incident investigator. So as we do things in the app, the bot will keep everybody updated. And that's quite nice. People often during incidents report feeling like they're out, you know, there's no transparency or they don't know what's happening. So we're trying to crack it open a little bit and provide some of that transparency. I'm going to choose a commander for this. I'm going to choose Chris Lord. Chris Lord is also with me on the meetup, and it's going to be working along in the background and showing so we can see things from the other perspective. Because this is a live tool. This is a live view. So as things happen, it stays updated. So we can see here, look, what is happening. So we'd start a conversation in here, and I may even, maybe I'll link to a different incident, a previous one, just as an example. So I'm going to say something like that, you know, check this out, it's related, I think. And then I don't know if you saw that, oops, if you see that there, then that incident is now pinged to this one. So this is like a way that we can see these URLs working. And the idea is like, we will passively collect any information, any context we can from the from this channel. That even extends, I've configured it. So if I use this little robot emoji on an item in here, then it's going to pin it into this. And you can see that it's added it here. It's actually added it twice, which is it's not supposed to do that. in production, it won't do that. This is in dev. We have a couple of the bots running in the background, and sometimes they both pick up a job. So that's what's happening there. Okay, so now we know who's doing what and they're working on it. We may come up against some tasks that we have to do, like we've got to check the logs. So, and I can use this little task manager here to just build up the little things so that we don't forget them. Chris is getting reported of this in Slack as well at the same time. But it's quite important, this piece, because having the work associated with the incident allows you to make sure that these things don't fall through the cracks, but also, you know, we can actually assign these tasks to people. And that way, you know, Chris knows that he's the one that's going to go check the logs and I'll do something else. He's just finished that task and you can see he's checked it there. We get a live update, Slack updates to tell us that he's finished. And it also goes into the timeline as well that this task was done at this point. So he may decide to go and add metadata, add some information, add some context, provide an update into this timeline. And you can just do that at the bottom. We could say like, check the logs, all looks good. And we just add that note there at the bottom. We can also add a query. You know, this is Grafana after all. So of course, we're going to be able to inject graphs. And this is something else that's quite important when it comes to telling the story of what's happened during an incident. And we have plans to take this much further. We want to, we've got an exciting roadmap for other things that we can enable on this timeline here. One other feature that we have, and it really focuses around the storytelling. You know, there's a lot of activity in here, and it essentially builds up over time. You may want to distill that down. So yes, we want to know that Chris checked the logs. I'll do one of these, and maybe the fact that these roles were important here. I can go through and just star these activity items. And that way in the starred view, you get an even more distilled version of what happened in that incident. And, you know, the idea is after the fact, we want people to be able to come and look at this and use this as a resource and use it as a knowledge base, really, that you've built up kind of passively. You'll be able to see, well, look, here's the essence of this incident. Let's drill it, you know, we can drill down a bit more and look at the detail. We can even go in full kind of view, which includes lots of other details of everything that happened. And this is very important for regulatory environments where, you know, you have to have an audit log of things, especially during incidents. Once you are happy that the incident has been resolved and it's finished, you can go here to resolve the incident, and that will ask you to provide a summary, which we'll then add to the bottom. Before we do that, I want to show you quickly the incident command. So in Slack, you can type /incident, and that is the Slack command. So you actually don't need to leave Slack in order to do all the things I've shown you here. I'm going to use the incdev command because that's what it is in this particular environment. But for you, it'll be incident. So do incident/help, and you can see here that I can create incidents, I can list active ones, I can deal with the roles here. The talk is a cool one, just being able to do incident/talk to get the link to the Google Meet of where people are talking. And you see that the bot is just replying to you here. So this is, again, like, you don't even have to bother people to find out this information. You can, because it's all predictable, because it's done for you, you can just join the conversation wherever you need to. I can show the tasks also by just asking for them, and it just prints them out here just for information. There's full control. Like you can see, you can actually add tasks, and we can assign tasks and things like this in there too. We can also add the notes. We can look at the URLs. And so basically, it's like a command line into the incident process, and it's all about really not trying to change people's behavior. Let them deal with the incident how they already were, and just give them tools to do that in a way that's effective. We have a very exciting roadmap. that we are actually really excited about. You can imagine already integrations is an area where, you know, we currently have like Google Meet and Zoom, and we're doing Slack and things. There's lots of other third-party services we want to integrate with. Somebody actually in a recent hackathon at Grafana added a status page integration. So that's going to get merged in, and that will allow people to control their status page right from their incidents. We also want to integrate with other Grafana tech more deeply. On call is one area. We want, you know, you'll be able to, in on call, declare an incident from an alert right in there, and it will carry that context into the incident and keeps it all bound together. And so the idea is you end up with quite a rich resource of data that you can use then to not just learn and learn about like a particular incident. How can we avoid this incident in the future? Why did it go wrong? Are there any practices we need to tweak in order to avoid these kinds of incidents? But you can also look at that incident data in aggregate and answer questions like, I mean, how many people get sucked into an incident on average? Are there particular areas of code which are attracting the most or causing the most incidents? That's another interesting thing. One thing you can do with the URLs is post links, as I showed, but you can post links to anything: GitHub pull requests, issues, Jira tickets, and we want to do already some of this, but we want to do more understanding and enriching the picture of the incident from that information. So that things get very exciting there. And I mean, there's a lot more to tell and show, but basically, if you want to try this in your team, if it's right, if you use Slack, we currently only support Slack, and you have a Google account, then we very much want you to join our preview, and please do. Any questions about incident? Oh, okay. We did get a plugins question. Maybe we could come back to that one. I'll just answer these ones. So one question by Carrick asked, are there plans to integrate with Microsoft Teams instead of Slack? Yes, we want to support basically any chat platform. We kept the interface deliberately very minimalist. So the Slack, the Slack interface, it's mainly a text-based interface, and that makes it easy for us to add more providers. In fact, given it's a text interface, by the way, it wouldn't be that difficult to even use like Twilio to create some kind of SMS interface, assuming that security isn't a problem. And then you'd be able to ask questions by text to find out what's happening, who's working on it, what's the latest status, things like that. So it gets quite exciting when you think of the other chat platforms that we could target. And Terence says, for Grafana incidents, is there a person view from where you can see who is responding most and effectively outside of a single incident? Yes, so part of the insights will be around like being able to find things out like that, like who spends the most time on incidents, how much time are they spending, how often? Because for things like, if you think about mental health and sustainability, like you don't want people to be constantly bombarded with incidents, and maybe their day job suffers because of that, so there are a lot of insights that we can get. We have to be careful about what we surface, because you basically are what you measure. And one example, we had days since last incident as a bit of a kind of a little joke really on the dashboard to show how many days since our last incident. And it turns out that people will game that. They will avoid opening an incident because they don't want to ruin the streak. And that's not what we want. What we want is for people to, our advice is open early and often, and rather open and close it quickly than not have an incident at all and not record it. So we'll pay a special attention to the impact of what those insights can also have as well. Joseph asks, is Grafana Incident able to be used in the open source version as well? Initially, it's Grafana cloud focused. One of the features I didn't show you because of our particular environment is that it will also suggest related dashboards based on the title of the incident. So if in your environment you have dashboards, if you create an incident that talks about the same things that the dashboards talk about in the titles and things, then with a little bit of natural language understanding, the AIML squad helped us implement this pretty cool feature, which suggests dashboards to you. And we want to do more things like that. That's harder to do if we have to kind of support all the different environments. So initially it's going to be Grafana Cloud is the answer to that. And that also answers Rolf's question, which is, will it be available for on-prem as well? You know, I think ultimately the answer is yes, but there's a good argument for having the incident tool outside of your environment, because if an incident happens in your environment, you know, you may want a different place that's more likely to be up to be kind of the place you can manage incidents. So that's an interesting one. But yes, technically we're not closed off to any of those things, but it's really about what makes sense and priorities for getting there. Okay, Robert says that we use a different workflow where we use the same channel for all incidents instead of creating a new channel for each. Would that be supported as well? Initially, it won't be. I wonder, Robert, do you use threads to discuss the incidents? That'd be an interesting question, but you feel free to unmute and ask if you can and ask and answer.
Yeah. Yes. So we do that, and also, while we don't have as many incidents, so in production maybe once a week or less actually.
Oh, nice.
And so it's so we don't run into the problem where we have concurrent incidents usually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, so this falls into the area of, like, ultimately incident is going to be very customizable. We want to do that in the right way. We don't want to end up with Jira that is easy to make a big mess, which is why a lot of people don't like Jira. It's possible to configure Jira to actually work well. I don't want to keep hitting on Jira, but it so often ends up being configured into being basically a nightmare with all kinds of workflow rules and things. So we don't want that world, but there'll be a class of things like this where there will be sensible preferences for different cases. And so, yeah, we'll definitely be open to things like that. But initially, I would encourage you to try this approach, because there's something quite nice about the fact you can just archive these channels when they're finished, and they'll go away. One thing I should also show actually is the main channel that you get with this. I'm just going to share my screen one more time. Sorry. So we have an incidents channel internally, and this is our test one. We post for each incident, if we post one of these little announcement messages, and this is essentially, it's an image that represents the incident, tells you what's going on. There's the Slack channel that you can jump to. This is the URL to this page. And you know, you can then click here and jump straight into the channel and start using the chat bot, or you see what's being said and things. So that is quite a nice way of keeping everybody informed and alerted. And those we update those images as we go along. So as things change and evolve, those images live update. So that becomes a kind of live view, a bit like the dashboard in the web, but it's just right within Slack. Any other questions for me on Grafana Incident? Okay, well, Robert asked a question to you, Marcus. I don't know if you want to answer that. He asked, are there any kind of quality check done by Grafana Incident for community plugins published via the Grafana plugins page?
It's a great question. There is. It's a short answer. Whenever someone wants to publish a community plugin to the Grafana.com marketplace, it ends up in a review queue, and one of us from the team is taking that ticket, and we actually boot up a Grafana. We test the plugin. We try to make a few queries. We try to, do a level of smoke testing. We're not going in too deep, but we are making sure that the main use cases are covered. Nothing obvious is broken. The second thing is we're looking for obvious security issues. So, for example, is a data source storing credentials unencrypted and things like that. We also review the actual source code of the plugin to see if there's anything we should be aware of. So we actually do go through the plugin quite significantly. I do want to say, though, that this is not a formal security review of each plugin. If you have strong security requirements, we encourage you to do your own check to make sure that everything is covered up to your standards. But yes, we do review and do quality checks of all plugins being published. Thank you. Great question.
Right. Yeah, good question. I think that's the end of our presentation then, Jessica.
Nice. I must say, I've had to recently use Grafana Incident, and it was surprising how smooth it was. I was like, wait, all this stuff is happening and I don't have to do any of it?
Great.
But yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't solve the incident yet. That's one thing we'd love to do. That'd be great.
But that's
that version 2?
I was quite surprised with just my face popping up on it and things when, like, Carl was just like, I'm going to assign you as commander, and it was like, I don't know what's going on, and it was just putting like, and it was walking me through everything, right?
It was exciting, isn't it? It's exciting because it looks so good. Chris Lord, who's on this session, he did the design for that. I think those cards are great. Thing is, it's like making you the hero, because you are, like, people that come and solve the incidents, you're heroes, and you should be celebrated. And this tool celebrates you, and that's why it looks like a Marvel thing.
Yeah. I think my only feedback was I wish that it was easier for me to find what an incident commander was supposed to do. I was like, what am I don't know what I'm meant to do. Okay, command. Okay, great, cool.
Yeah,
it was a lot of fun.
That's a great point, actually. Yeah. We see that's the sort of feedback that we want from our private beta customers as well. Little things like that.
I personally love the little robot reaction and making that automated. That was my favorite. Yes, attention to details. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, that's a really nice little. Actually, we're going to extend that to support lots of emoji, because people came in our early trials. One of the users said, "Could I use that to categorize things as I go?" And so we thought that was a great idea. So we're going to extend that even further, so that you'll be able to react and say root cause. This is the root cause, or this one's something to follow up. Like, you just be able to tag it as you go, and you can really focus on the incident, and the tool will do all that for you.
Right, we have a few minutes left. If anybody wants to unmute, or general questions for me, for any of the people participating. For my cat who decided to join. It doesn't have to be just about, it could be Grafana related questions within reason. I don't know if we can answer everything.
We'll do our best. Anything Grafana.
Yeah.
What's your cat's name, Jessica?
This is Tormund, because he is a giant ginger. He's like over 6 kilos. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Great name.
The other one that you can see in the background, that's Lemmy. So
that's who, Lenny?
Lemmy.
Lemmy.
Yes.
That's not a Game of Thrones reference, is it?
No, it's not. Tormund is, but Lemmy is definitely from Motorhead. So, yeah. Feel free to interrupt us if you, else we'll just keep chatting about cats or Marcus's puppies.
Yeah,
How many
he's
puppies
sleeping
have you
right now. No, I just have the one, but he's enough as it is. I was actually surprised he didn't bark this webinar or this meetup. Usually, whenever someone is outside the door, he lets me know.
That's good because it's like having an IoT thing set up.
Yeah, right.
But
right.
your dog doesn't require the Wi-Fi to keep working, right?
I've actually had the idea of building a plugin that takes the input to a microphone and then streams the audio input to a dashboard so that when I'm outside or outdoors, I can see if he's barking in real time.
Great idea.
I really want to make that happen.
That's a great idea. You could use Grafana machine learning to predict and forecast when he's going to bark. And then you'll know in advance and you could get an alert to say, probably the dog's going to bark soon.
So indirectly, that means that I would know when my neighbor is coming home and leaving.
Not just that, you'd be able to predict when. You can use it to basically look into the future. I don't know why more people aren't doing that to find out what's going to happen to them. But it's a great idea.
Marcus. Yeah, definitely.
It'd be a good blog post. Predicting my dog's bark.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Mapping it to a severity, that could be a next step for sure. Yeah,
when you start to classify the different scenarios, the different incidents.
Oh, and the pitch as well, because he's got different voices depending on the situation.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
There you go.
Is there an Arduino for that? I'm not even sure.
This is a hackathon project waiting to happen. Is it? Yeah. Are we forming our next hackathon band right now?
I think so.
Boy. I'm not sure if I would want to volunteer Tormund's meows, but I'm sure that we could find some. Like, I'm not actually sure if he just meows when he's hungry or if he just meows to, Yeah.
If only we had machine learning for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that they came up with the fact that cats meow just to mimic their owners. So.
What are you meowing to your cat then?
I don't meow, but they just. Cats outside of having humans, they don't meow at each other, so they only meow.
What? Like, so hang on a minute. They're just we came up with that going meow, and they're like, that's a bit strange, but I guess they're like,
let's go with it.
Why aren't they saying like, all right, morning? Why have they not picked that one up?
I'm guessing it's because they don't have enough like vocal cords or something. I'm not entirely sure.
Wow.
But,
so that would mean that if we had one less vocal cord, we would also go meow. Is that
basically
what I'm taking from this discussion?
Yeah. I don't know. Cats always seem like they know too much. Do you know what I mean? I like puppies because they're like little cute idiots. Cats are wily and I'm suspicious.
Well, you say that, but
cats are like engineers, so they have minds of their own.
Yeah.
They puppies can game you though, real bad. They know exactly what's happening.
Yeah,
puppies
they're manipulators.
Must have Matt fooled.
Yeah.
I guess the conversation is winding down. So, for those who are still left, we do also still have, the form to fill out if, you want to give us feedback. We do appreciate it a lot. And thank you so much for participating, and look forward to seeing you next time.
Yeah, thanks so much. Thanks, everyone. Nice to meet you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, thanks.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye-bye.